Welcome to my review of the third episode of Star Trek Discovery. The question is it any good? Let's find out after my intro. Context is for King starts with a 6-month time jump with Michael Burnham, Sinequa Martin Green, serving the life sentence she received at the end of the second episode. She finds herself on a prison transport which runs into trouble, and things only get worse when the pilot decides to go to take a spacewalk, accidentally losing her tether. What I think could have been a ploy by Lorca to bring her on board, but more about that later on. Did you already subscribe? If you like my review, don't forget to do so, as all Klingons do. Burnham is joined by some criminals who drive home the point that they might be racist murderers, but at least they're not a mutineer that started the war with the Klingons. A criticism that made the rounds after the premiere of the first two parts was that Burnham is not an entirely likable character, which is unusual for what should be the heroic star of a Star Trek show. The third episode really hammers home the point that Burnham's actions in the premiere are well known and they haven't made her much of a popular person. I think she was written this way on purpose, so she has the opportunity to start at the bottom and work her way up, not just on the Discovery but as an unlikable character getting more likable with time as she proves herself. Martin Green seems to be really pushing this unlikability, but we do get a few nice moments of character development and even a reference to her upbringing by her foster mother Amanda Grayson, which was recently cast. She will be played by Mia Kirshner. You might know her from the TV shows Bloodline, Defiance or Lost Girl. So this slow burn redemption arc for Michael Burnham may pay off better for those who binge watch it later, but just like the crew of the USS Discovery, it takes some time and adjustment to get used to her. Context is for Klingons picks up a lot of the load of the traditional pilot, including a lot of the densely packed character introductions. All these are done through Michael Burnham meeting the various members of the crew, and in a short time we get to see a big part of the main cast, and nobody besides Tilly likes her very much. We start off with Commander Landry, played by Raka Sharma, as a hard-ass security chief. She did not get a lot of screen time, but she was played rather one-dimensional, but she does get fleshed out a bit at the very end of the episode, and there is some intrigue with her and Lorca that we will likely explore further down the road. The introduction to Ensign Tilly provides some of the episode's only light moments and also awkward moments, as we learn she is riddled with allergies and some personality quirks that cause her to talk too much when she is in an uncomfortable situation. We later find out that despite all this, she sees herself as somebody being a captain. Despite a very awkward beginning, we see the start of what should be an interesting dynamic between Tilly and Burnham. Wiseman was a standout and may provide a lot of the relatability and heart of the Discovery. Lieutenant Paula Stamets enters the stage with Anthony Rapp really digging into the antisocial scientist stereotype. His disdain for Burnham goes deep, but he also shows he has no love for Captain Lorca, as he feels his important research is being corrupted by Starfleet. This tension has already started to pay off with some insubordination that wouldn't be accepted on any Starfleet ship we have seen before, and it's also being paid off by what I think was the best character moment in the entire episode, and it's between Lorca, Burnham, Saru and Stamets later in the episode. If you know what I mean, we can talk about it in the comment section down below. Captain Lorca is found in his ready room, and mysteriously he seems to prefer it dark, as he seems to got a battle injury in his eyes and can't handle the rapid changes of light to dark, and this is where his character is being fleshed out a little bit more. Lorca even merited some little character backstory quirks, like offering up fortune cookies, having a pet tribble and having a room full of skulls and skeletons from alien creatures. Jason Isaacs chews up the dialogue he's given, delivering unusual kind of captain that appears to relish the war and at one point even gets schooled on the ethics of Starfleet by its most notorious prisoner. Lorca and Burnham's interactions were some of the better written and delivered, with conversation each trying to uncover the other's hidden agendas and motivations. Burnham's series of awkward interactions with the crew isn't limited to new characters. She finds herself face to face with her old friend from the USS Shenzhou, with Saru, now first officer on the USS Discovery. Gone is the fun banter between Doug Jones's Saru and Burnham. Doug Jones is playing the relationship with deadly seriousness, and despite the extensive makeup, he delivers some great emotion in his performance. One of the most important characters on any Star Trek show is the ship. We also did get a few beauty shots of the USS Discovery, not an extensive long reveal section by section like in the other Trek shows, but the shots of the Discovery were very beautiful. We also learn it has a sister ship, the USS Glenn, and as we come to expect from the premiere, the production design and the effects are top notch. And while the USS Shenzhou was a rather dark place, the interior of the Discovery seems a bit more familiar and comfortable. Interestingly, they spent almost no time on the bridge, and it seems that they will keep the promise that on the Discovery we will see a lot more of the ship than just the bridge, a few corridors, a crew quarter and engineering. While the introduction to a lot of the characters tried to quickly cram in as much personality as possible, the ship itself was presented as a mystery from the start. It was filled with intrigue, things like black badges implying Section 31, the secret Starfleet organization, black alerts and classified rooms requiring Brave print ID, and they even went out of the way to drop a lot of technobabble without providing context, also enhanced the mystery with terms like Spirian, Bloom failure, Bezodiazak, and reference to the project, and they called the reaction cube. Some of this was paid off as we learned that Stamets is experimenting with a new way to fly using mycelium spores, as we suspected the USS Discovery is literally powered by a so-called mushroom drive. Sure, that's a bit strange, but it's Star Trek, which is full of quirky science, and this is certainly a new angle. It also adds an interesting dimension to this ship, as it is sort of a secret weapon science experiment and possibly one that isn't entirely ethical. This show clearly wants to play in the gray areas with the characters, and the USS Discovery is no exception. We learn a bit more about the USS Discovery through a visit to her sister ship, the USS Glenn. When Burnham, Stamets, Landry, Tilly and Ensign Ricky board the now derelict ship, the tension is being turned up to 11 as we explore the Glenn, which turns out to be inhabited by a short-lived Klingon with a funny scene to break up the tension for a moment. Yes, you heard that right, a Klingon on Star Trek Discovery with a funny scene. The tension is being kept up by some sort of mole monster thing which tears through the ship in a hunt for Burnham and the landing party. This landing party to the Glen also has to provide most of the plot for an episode loaded with introductions and exposition. Instead of being just a device to add a fear factor to the action sequences on the Glen, the monster turns out to have more importance. We later learn that Landry and Lorca agreed to have it brought on the Discovery. Why did they bring it on board? What's up with Lorca's collection of alien bones? These are the kinds of questions you have to get used to with Discovery. Again, the hope is the serialized nature of the series will deliver in the end. This episode is told almost entirely through the perspective of Michael Burnham. The exception is one scene with Landry and Lorca in his room with the skulls at the end. It is unusual for a Star Trek show to put so much emphasis on a single character, but it does offer the opportunity to imply something sinister merely not having Burnham present. This was a pretty good episode, and one of the best pilots in Trek history in my opinion. Contexts for Klingons taught us a lot about the show and provided some good action. A lot of little Trek details and a little bit of fun along the way. There was a lot of exposition and introductions to get through, and hopefully much of that is now behind us, and it certainly introduced a number of intriguing mysteries, creating good anticipation for the next episode. With a state-of-the-art production, Star Trek Discovery is delivering on its promise to bring Star Trek into the world of premium TV drama without forgetting its roots. Contexts for Klingons made a number of improvements over last week's premiere. It was not as uneven and had much better pacing and story development. No doubt many issues with the early episodes flow from the behind-the-scenes discord and exit of co-creator Brian Fuller, who still retains story credit for this episode along with 3 other writers. Everyone seems to hate everyone else. People are getting turned inside out by the tag that is running the ship. The captain may be a war criminal, and there is still the backdrop of the Klingon war. Burnham cited Alice in Wonderland in the episode. Also, we, the audience, have to go down the rabbit hole first, and it will apparently be dark, but as if the show remembered it was still Star Trek. Contexts for Klingons did find a ray of light at the end with a typical Trek literary reference. The mention of Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland lead us to see Michael Burnham finding herself through the looking glass. Gone is the woman who had given up on life, seen on that prisoner transport. The episode ends with Burnham seeing a ray of hope and maybe a road to redeem herself, but that could take 10 seasons if we judge by all the hate she encountered as she came on board of the Discovery. If you liked my video, don't forget to subscribe and click the little bell icon so my video shows up in your subscription feed when I upload a new one. Thank you for watching, you're awesome, and I see you in my next video.